Tunnel. My name is Vlad Karpel. I'm CEO and founder of Tradespoon, and today we're going to have our weekly strategy roundtable where we talk about current market conditions and answer any questions you might have. For those of you who are new, welcome. This is my brief bio. Was executive vice president and head of technology at Options Express, broker-dealer, always worked in the fintech space here in Chicago. Hedge funds, broker-dealers, building technology, building AI. I have background in AI, master's degree. Had to write AI algorithms. So that's my background. Started Tradespoon 2012, so 14 years. So very exciting. Kind of decided to build technology to manage my own money after Options Express went public. And I decided, since I have a lot of signals and a lot of knowledge in AI, to start Tradespoon and Yellow Tunnel, and we provide signals based on the AI algorithms that we wrote. We have a team of financial engineers that are building new models and enhancing existing models. You know, this field is moving very fast. Keith Harwood joined us about 2 years ago, and he brings a lot of background in trading. He has deep knowledge in options, futures. He was a market maker. So between two of us, more than 40 years of combined experience. And we have live trading room every day. Hopefully you guys can join it. I know a lot of you are already there, so I appreciate it. I'm going to go through specific trade examples. So disclosures are very important. Please read them. If you haven't seen the slide before, I encourage you to visit optionsclearing.com so you can understand the risk associated with trading stock and options. I'm not a financial advisor, not registered with FINRA and RSCC. I'm here to show you what I do in my own account based on my own risk tolerance level for general education information purposes only. All right, before we jump into a trading plan, let's look at the current market conditions. So we did have a CPI inflation data today. 10-year yield is still staying at 430 level, right? Bond market has been a good indication of, you know, risk on or risk off environment, and we're right at that borderline, right? We talked about 430 if you've been on these webinars before for quite some time. So 430 is an important level. Anything above 430, fear of inflation, stagflation, high oil prices, impact consumer. You see retail stocks pulling back today with inflation data higher than expected. Within what it was expected, but much higher than it was prior to the war. So inflation is up. We're still at the 430 level. So I think that's, you know, good. You know, you can, if you're a bull, you'll say this is great because we're down from 450. If you're bear, you say you're still sitting at the support, and at any point you can go to 50. If you kind of trade what you see, not what you think, you say, okay, we're right at that borderline. When we were originally, after the announcement, 420, 423 would be a much better setup. This means it's still kind of, you know, we're not out of the woods. Market could reverse very quickly. But VIX is 18 handle. It's below 20. So VIX continues to deteriorate. That's positive. So that is a risk on. Dollar is below 100, continues to pull back. That's also a risk on. The only red flag I see is the software sector, right? So something is happening with our software companies. Maybe it's exposure to that private credit, right? Maybe people are concerned about their earnings, right? Maybe they're falling behind the AI, right? And now the Googles of the world and, you know, agentic AI is very popular now. Almost every business offers AI agents now, and that means you have to pay for the usage of AI, right? Not as a retail investor or retail user that just goes to Grow, can I pay $30, right? Right. That's not a lot of revenue proportionately, right? So that's, you just pay, most of them are free actually. But if you build a software, right, and you say, how can I help you? And Fred responds, well, Tradespoon has to pay, right? Every time it's a fraction of a penny for every client, right? So that is competition. You can see Google is doing well, Amazon is doing well, right? They are kind of the leaders of that investment. They're rebounding. Even Meta, right now, is also strong rebound. But Microsofts of the world, right? Pelletiers of the world, they are going in a different direction, right? They're going in a different direction. So that is concerning. Other than that, I mean, Bitcoin, I'm not sure. It has been a good proxy for risk on or risk off, but it's just been consolidating since, well, I don't know. I mean, it's been in down market since October. But ever since even February or November, it's, it's still in downtrend, right? It's still trading in downtrend. I'm not sure how. I mean, I would look at the crude oil. Crude oil is below 100. That's positive, but it's still near 100. That's negative. So crude oil is not dropping, right? It means people are still concerned about how many ships can go to Strait of Hormuz, and that means that risk is elevated, and the longer the inflation is elevated, the higher the retail stocks are going to get hit, right? They had a nice rebound, but now they're pulling back, right? Kind of reality check. Metals and miners are doing well. They're kind of rebounding. Industrials had a strong rebound, about 50-day moving average. Financials had not as strong. Financials are not as strong, but industrials are. Financials we'll see on Tuesday, right? JP Morgan and banks starting announcing earnings next week. So focus is going to shift slowly from the war to earnings, right? Materials, home builders rebounding. Materials are doing well, rebounding. Value stocks had a strong rebound. QQQ is grinding higher. Spiders grinding higher. And a strong price. Semiconductors, right? So semiconductors are breaking out, right? So AI is here. People are excited. Investors are excited about all the AI investments and companies consuming the AI. So, and you can see semiconductors are breaking out. Any other questions? And SPX is staying above 8,600, right? So SPX, strong rebound from the low 6,300, right? We retraced most of the losses. I mean, it is facing this downtrend that started in February, going into the war. But assuming it can break through this downtrend, the next level is going to be all-time highs on SPX. So if you look at our model, if you look at Stock Forecast Toolbox model, it's turning positive, basically saying that, I mean, we're a little bit ahead of ourselves, right? So it does see 680 overhead resistance, maybe this week, maybe next week, but assuming earnings are going to be better than expected, we will continue to go higher, right? And potentially in the next 10 days, actually break the lows, right? The current momentum is strong enough to carry the bulls above 700 level. Contingent on earnings and contingent on what's going to happen over this weekend, right? With negotiations with Iran and how many ships are going to start traveling through the Strait of Hormuz. But momentum is definitely picking up, going higher. So that's what the model shows you. If you zoom out to 6 months, right? What the prediction was on April 1st and March 1st, that hasn't really changed. It does see potentially breakout, right, by June, but for the months of April, it doesn't see breakout, and not even for the months of May. So something positive has to happen to break through the 7,000 level on SPX, right? And we talked about SPX. Right, so short-term, medium-term is getting stronger, right? Still intact long-term trends, still intact medium-term, even though it's getting very weak. So something to keep in mind that these long-term trends are still weak and has been deteriorating, even before. Rajesh, is there a mixed opinion whether AI can disrupt SaaS? Do you think there could be major disruption in software sectors like Palantir? Definitely it is, right? So Palantir is tied to the government, right? Government, doesn't want to use, what is it called? Claude, right? Claude is, has partnership with Palantir. So, I mean, Palantir is using AI, right? So they're at the forefront, right? But the question is, can another company emerge that provides better models, and where the spend is? I mean, the companies like Microsoft and Oracle, right? Nobody's going to displace them, right? So obviously, at this point, their multiples are much more reasonable, right? PE ratio of 25 for the company that's growing, in their revenue, it's very low, right? So I don't think AI is going to displace Oracle or CrowdStrike, right? So the concern, I think, bigger is the bond market, right? The quality of their credit, and can their revenue actually sustain all the $200 billion investments in Amazon, or I don't know, 80 billion, however many billions, Oracle is investing, right? So that's the question. And right now, people are concerned about that, right? You can see in CrowdStrike, right, got beat up, right? Zscaler got beat up. They're concerned about their investments, and that's the issue. It's not that these AI is going to take over these companies, but that their investment is not going to be justified, right? And IGV actually, we'll see if this is a confirmed breakdown, but it actually broke down through the February lows now, despite the market rally, right? And I'm not sure where the support is on IGV sector, right? Probably not until 50, right? You have to go back to the recession's low, right? 22 lows to see software sector at $50, right? So pretty sharp pullback. There's not really much support here. So next level would probably be 66 or 65, and then potentially 50. Right. So that's concerning, right? The volume is continuing to growing. And I guess earnings season will show, right? Microsoft is going to announce earnings, Oracle is going to announce earnings, and Amazon basically said that they're the biggest investors in the AI, and their revenue is going to be justified. Just wait and see. So the proof is in the pudding, right? Is that the expression? But that would be the test, right? The test is coming up on for Amazon. It's coming up for why don't I see the earnings? That's interesting. But probably end of April, right? End of May 7th, right? So May 7th, we'll see how the earnings for Amazon, whether it justifies this uptrend or not. Thank you, Rajesh. So in terms of SPX, right, we always go through this exercise. So it's uptrend, medium, short term, and basically based on the current volatility, current implied volatility, right? Two scenarios or three scenarios, right? You can kind of draw them out. One is let's see, right? We're at all-time high, right? This is implied volatility. Where are we going to get into the May? How far are we going to get in by May, based on the supply and demand of all the option contracts, right? For SPX, right? Are we going to be at all-time high by May, or are we going to be? It doesn't look like we're revisiting the lows, but maybe November lows again. right? October, November lows, right? So those are three scenarios, right? One is we break through the 7,000, right? Our model basically said we're not going to break through 7,000 in the months of April and May, but if the earnings are better than expected and JD Vance does a good job, right, and in terms of getting. Then you could have scenario number one. Scenario number two, basically, this is a bell-shaped distribution curve. This is how you want to think about your trading, right? 70% of the time, it's two, right? Because for every good news, you can have a bad news, right? Inflation data is up, right? If oil is at 100 in March, oil is at 100 in April, then May the CPI is going to go up. And if the oil is at 100 in May, then June CPI is going to keep going even higher. And we know that inflation is not good for consumers, for companies. Then that means that the rates are going to keep going higher, stagflation, and market is going to collapse, right? So scenario number three. Scenario number two, it's earnings are good, but inflation is higher. But if the earnings are kind of below the expectations and oil prices are in May are still at 100 level because the Strait of Hormuz is still closed, right? Then you have scenario number three, right? Move beyond one standard deviation to the right, and one standard deviation to the left. So how many of you think that we're gonna be in one, right? All aboard, right? Amazon said the $200 billion investment is justified. All the companies follow. They, beat the estimates. JD Vance can, secure agreement with Iran. Iran reopens the Strait of Hormuz. Oil prices drop to 70, 60, right? And we're scenario number one. How many of you think scenario number two, oil price is gonna be at 100 by, May? Still at 100, still uncertainty about how many ships can go through Strait of Hormuz. Earnings are decent, right? So scenario number two, and then scenario number three, things are going to start falling apart. So how many of you say one? How many of you say two? Bill, scenario number one. All right. We have some bulls. That's awesome. Andre, two. Kathleen, question mark, doesn't know. Thank you. Kevin, four. Love it. Kevin, four. Okay. Very, 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 very big 4 sigma moves, right? 4 sigma moves for Kevin. Okay. I'm gonna go with 2. I'm just gonna follow the model. I think the model is right. For every good news, we're gonna have a bad news. I don't think JD Vance is gonna secure an agreement over the weekend. They couldn't do it for the past 50 years. I don't know. I mean, they did inflict a lot of damage to Iran, but Iran is a totalitarian kind of autocracy. So control of Strait of Hormuz is their cards, right? And Trump likes to make this analogy in cards, right? They don't want to fold their cards, right? The last cards they have is the Strait of Hormuz, so they're not gonna easily fold those cards. So I think oil is gonna stay persistently higher, and market is gonna stay persistently volatile, and you need to be ready for that, right? So I'm gonna say 2. I would not be surprised that SPX hits a 7,000, right? That would not be my surprise. But I also realize that we could maybe not revisit the lows, but at least October, September lows, 6,500, 6,600. This is all a fair game. Any questions? There is a joker in the deck of cards. Yeah, there's 2 jokers usually in the deck of cards, so they don't want to fold their jokers. Yes, definitely. Thank you, Bill. They do not want to fold their jokers. And Trump likes to play poker, right? This is his favorite game. He's not ashamed to admit it and say it publicly, right? So, poker. Thinking of poker, the homework is thinking in bets, right? So if you haven't read this book, speaking of poker jokers, right, and who likes to fold their cards, that affects the trading trading is all about how many times can you invest in what increments, and is your probability of success greater than, if the sum of all your positive trades greater than the sum of all your negative trades. Whether you trade in or whether you play in poker professionally, the trading psychology is the same, right? Annie Duke, she's a PhD in psychology, and she's also a world poker player, right? World champion. So great book. If you haven't read this book, this is your homework, Thinking in Bets. And I'll put that link on the questions. Paste and send to all. And I'll put it in chat too. Okay, so how do we help on Tradespoon? Well, models, right? So you do have Stock Forecast Toolbox. You can enter any stock or option. Today in Active Trader, right, we have different models: Active Trader, Weekly Trader. Active Trader, it implies active trading, right? So we trade in every day model runs and provides signals. So today, Carnival Cruise, DHI, TJX, right? Some of these stocks I trade, some of them I don't. But this is where I get ideas for trading. And then same thing, Weekly Trader, right? This week, you get a signals from Weekly Trader. Right, so Wells Fargo is doing great this week. STX is doing great this week. AMET is doing great this week, right? So even before the ceasefire, model already detected momentum behind some of the names. Not all of the names, but some of the names. And in this environment, you want to have definitely access to these models and see not all stocks, right? Oracle is going lower, Palantir is going lower, right? So you can't just buy any stocks. You have to find stocks that have momentum and signals. And AI is doing a better job than me analyzing charts, right? And trying to find, spots. So AI is here to stay for sure. Is it going to displace Vlad, and can AI just manage your portfolio? Hopefully not anytime soon. But is it a great tool to help me navigate market volatility and find the stocks and be able to put all the equation together between interest rates, currencies, credit markets, futures market? Yes, it's definitely helping, and it's definitely here to stay. And only if you embrace people. I think going forward, I'm telling my kids, unless you embrace AI, you're going to be in disadvantage. So whatever job you're doing, whatever business you're running, you have to embrace AI, right? So if you're customer service, you need to have AI bots, right? If you're sending emails, you have to have AI bots to help you build emails, right? If you're writing software, you have to have an AI bots that help you write software. So you are more efficient, the productivity increases, and company make money. And if they don't embrace, then the company will fall behind and eventually disappear. So that is definitely a recipe, and that's how it's going to be, going forward. At least my opinion. So Active Trader, Weekly Trader, Monthly Trader provide the signals. And then if you want to trade, like Premium Portfolio is where I trade spreads. So this week on Sunday, you saw the signal. I said, okay, that looks good. Even if there's no ceasefire, it has a momentum. It makes sense to diversify, not have all bearish positions. So I said, okay, buy Dell, right? You buy a Dell, sorry about that. You buy Dell, right? So I bought position at 353, and then I closed at 450, right? You don't have to trade spreads. You can also trade single options. You can buy a single stock. If you don't have time to monitor these trades, we do have a special arrangement, marketing relationship with Avantgarde, right? You see I'm using them quite often in the live trading room. But you can open up an account with Avantgarde and basically be able to auto trade these signals. Not all the signals, but premium signals, right? These spreads. You're thinking about earnings too. So I encourage you to consider this offer. We also offer, will reimburse you for the 3 months, first three. You start if you don't have a subscription, you want to start a subscription, the first 3 months you can buy, and then we'll reimburse you once you open the active account and Avantgarde, and you can auto execute these trades. So I dropped the link in the questions and in chat. If you're interested in the auto execute service, so you don't have to be glued to the screen, and you know exactly, brokers can actually talk to you about these trades. They can give you advice. I can give you advice, but brokers can, and they can actually manage these trades on your behalf when you're not in front of the computer. If you're in front of the computer, then in live trading room, we have Elite Circle, right? We have premium service. Then we also have Elite Circle, where you can trade your signals. So today there was a signal in Apple. I bought Apple. There was a signal in TJX. I bought TJX. Yesterday there was a signal in STLD. I bought STLD, closed it. So it's a combination of stock and option trading. And I encourage you, if you don't want to auto trade, you want to trade it yourself, then Elite Circle, where you can actually see every trade. You can go to SMS, right? Either put Discord ID or SMS message to trade. And you can participate in live trading room, morning bell, closing bell. Kathleen is here, right? She's learning. So that's exciting. And you will get signals, right, real time. If you're busy, you have full-time job, and sometimes you don't react. And markets are volatile, right? You've seen, Dell jumped. If you didn't do the trade on Monday, then by Tuesday it was too late. So then you can do the auto execute service. But if you have time during the day to watch the signals and you can trade them, then it's also fine as well. All right, any other questions? All right, guys, then I have to go. We do give 30-day money back guarantee. Consider, homework is reading the Thinking in Bets if you haven't read that. And consider any of these smart, if you want to trade what I'm trading, then premium, elite. If you want to do it yourself, we have signals. That's what I use. And if you need tools, a lot of people, day traders, love Stock Forecast Toolbox, right? It gives you a good tool to tell you when the market is overbought or when the market is oversold. Mostly folks. Yes, Ken, I agree. Joseph, silver and gold. It's been highly correlated to the market. So as long as interest rates are going to go down, I think silver is going to rally. But if oil is going to stay at 100 and rates are going to go up for 30, for 40, for 50, silver is going to continue to drop. So far, I'm not impressed with silver rebound, and gold a little bit better. So it is, it's highly correlated to it. Just keep in mind, gold used to be considered a safety asset class, right, for the market pullback, and you see gold collapsed when the market collapsed. So now, if you invest in gold, you invest in QQQ, very highly correlated, right? So when you buy in Microsoft, keep in mind it's highly correlated to, Palantir and gold. All right, guys, thank you very much, and have a great day. Spend some quality time with with your friends and family. Joseph, thank you, and I'll see you same time, same place next week, unless you're in live trading room. Live trading room starts 8:15, 8:30 a.m. every day, Chicago time. If you don't have time for live trading room, please try to make it on Friday this time. I appreciate it. We have a lot of people today, so that means a lot to me. Bill, yeah. Just send me an email. And I'll give you the link. You can definitely join the closing bell with your membership. That is true. Actually, you should have a link. When you get emails on earnings power trader, Bill, there is a link. There's 2 links for morning bell and closing bell. So on Yellow Tunnel, when you get that earnings power trader email every week, or when I trade, just in the middle of that email, you should be getting it. There's a link to the closing bell. It says closing bell, click here, and then you can join. For sure. Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you very much, and have a great day.